Hi everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Tami hoodie sew along. So yesterday, with the shoulder zip accent, we've sewn in our zip and we've attached that right sleeve with the adjoining zip. Today we're going to start by adding our kangaroo pocket, and then we're going to follow on by adding our crossover hood and sewing up those side seams. So the first thing we need to do for our kangaroo pocket is making sure that you've got your kangaroo pocket cut on the fold. Okay, so we've got one piece like this. We need to find the center of our front bodice. So we just join them up and just mark it however you choose, whether you want to clip it in or if you want to use a pen and mark it. And we do the same with the bottom of our pocket. So finding the center and just marking it. Once we've done that, we're going to fold the corners of our pocket. So the cuts on the angle, 1/2 inch in, press them and then sew them together, or sew them down. So you can overlock those seams, the side seams first, to give it a neater finish if you want to. They won't be seen anyway, and knit fabric doesn't fray. So it's totally up to you. If you'd like to, you can overlock first and then stitch them down, or you can just press and stitch. And I'm going to also just get a few clips just to clip it down and hold it in place. And we do the same for the other side. Okay, so once we've got that pressed down, we're just going to top stitch those angled corners of our pocket down. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that we have top stitched our angled parts of the pocket, we're going to fold and press the top, and we're going to fold and press the side, the last part of that side piece. Okay, so we'll quickly, again with a 1/2 inch seam, so we just take it over to our iron, give it a quick press. Again, you can overlock those pieces first if you wish to, and then stitch on the overlocking and stitch that down. That's completely personal choice. You're not going to see it, so for me, I'm not going to overlock them down. And we do the same just on those side pieces. So you don't need to fold that bottom piece at the very end, because that will be attached to the front part of your bodice. So now we've got the top folded and we've got the side. Before we sew them, because they're going to attach, we're going to pin it onto our bodice. So front piece of your bodice, you've already found your center. You're going to place it on top like so. So matching raw edges together. Okay, so the right side of your pocket is facing up. Okay, and all we're going to do now is we're going to stitch our pocket onto our front. So we're going to stitch across the top, we're going to stitch down those bottom corners, but remembering that you're not going to stitch down where you've already sewn, okay, because they will be your pockets to put your hands through. No need to stitch the bottom because we'll put the band on that at the very end. So we're just stitching down the two sides and the top. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we've sewn our kangaroo pocket. What we're going to do is we're going to add our sleeves and get onto the hood. So we've already attached the right sleeve because we've got the zip in there. So we're going to do the same thing now, but with the left sleeve. So we'll get our sleeve piece out. There's my back piece. Here's my sleeve. We're going to go right sides together, and same thing, clip it together, and now we're just going to overlock, or if you're using your sewing machine, stretch stitch down this way. It is a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, so just bear that in mind as well. And let's get stitching. Okay, so now we've sewn on our left sleeve. We are going to attach those sleeves to our back piece. So again, right sides together, there's our back piece. We're going to match up our right sleeve over this side, pin together. And while we're there, we're going to do the other side, making sure that you are getting your sleeve and attaching it to the back bodice. Oops. And pinning together. This part comes together really quickly. Now, the hard part of the zip is out of the way. So really super easy now. So all we need to do is overlock or stretch stitch on your sewing machine your sleeves to your bodices. Let's go. Okay, so now we have sewn our sleeves together. We're not going to do the side seams yet. We're going to attach the hood to the neck before we sew that all together. So we can put our jumper away, and it's starting to come together really nicely. Okay, so now we need to get our hood pieces. And before we do anything, you need to make sure that you have got your markings from your pattern piece. So because we're doing the crossover hood, the eyelets are placed in two different places on the hood. So just making sure that when you make your markings that you're doing it on the right piece. So the right side of your hood, the one that's on the right side when you're wearing it, is slightly higher. So the one on the left is slightly lower. So we just go ahead and we make a little mark of where our hood is going to be. Okay, put a bit of a cross there, and then we do the same on the left piece. And again, the left one is on the lower side. Okay, so we just make a bit of a mark. And then just to double check, before you sew and put the eyelets in, put your hood like it would be on your head. So put wrong sides together and it would be facing that way. So this is my right side, which has got my marking higher up than my left side. Okay, so just make sure. So we're going to install these eyelets. Before we do that, we need to iron on some interfacing. So just a small square, doesn't need to be too big. Always check that you're gluing the right side of your interfacing down. Sorry, I disappeared off the camera there for a second. Okay, and really make sure that it is ironed on firmly. Iron that on, and then we do the same on the other side as well. Okay, so once that's ironed on, we're ready to install our eyelets. So I've got 5.5mm eyelets, and you'll need your tool piece and you'll need a hammer to bang them in. So when we're installing them, we need 2 of those, and then we need 2 of the front pieces. So you can see on the eyelets here, a bit tricky. This is it's got the extended piece at the top, and then you've got a flat piece, just a plain circle. One side's got grooves and one side is smooth. So on your interfacing, I just get my little knife, scissors, and I just fold my fabric and I make just a teeny tiny cut through there, just enough that I can push my eyelet through, and I do the same. You can punch the hole with your tool piece. There are instructions on the back of your eyelets. This to me is just faster and easier. So what we're going to do is we'll push, we need our right side of our fabric facing up, and we put that first piece with the extended tunnel through from the wrong side of the fabric, and we just push that through like so, and then we put a flat piece and we put the groove side down on top. Now we get our tool piece, the flat one, and we place the bottom of our fabric, or the wrong side of our fabric, that side. Our tool goes in here, and then we're just going to bang it down. Making sure that it's all attached in there nicely. So as you're hammering down, that middle piece is going into those grooves. So perfect. Now we do the same thing with our second side. So we put facing, push it through from the wrong side of the fabric. And then we put our flat piece, groove side down, place it on top here, and and we're going to give it a few bangs just to make sure that it's all in place. Make sure you don't hammer your fingers. Make sure it's nice and firm, because you don't want them falling out. And there's our second one. Perfect. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our hood pieces right side together, and we're ready to sew the hood piece together. Again, using your overlocker, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you don't have an overlocker, you can stretch stitch it also. So we're just going around the top and the back of the hood. We're leaving the front and the neckline free. So let's go and overlock that together. Okay, so now that we've got our hood sewn together, there's two ways to do the front part. We can fold over 1/4 of an inch, press it, and then fold it over another inch so that you're not seeing the raw edge. Alternatively, you can overlock that whole front part and then just fold over an inch and stitch that down. If you have a cover stitch, you can just do the same, fold it over 1 1/4 inches and stitch down. So I'm going to use my cover stitch. You can choose whichever way suits you. So I'll go that again. So you can overlock the front part of your hood, so the bit that's coming over your face, like so. So you can overlock this part, 1/4 inch seam allowance, fold it over an inch and then top stitch it. You can fold it over 1/4 of an inch, press, and then fold it over another inch, and top stitch down. Or using your cover stitch or twin needle, if that's how you want to do it, using your cover stitch, fold it over 1 1/4 inches and top stitch it down. So let's go ahead and do that. So I like to make it pretty accurate. I go around and I just mark some dot points as to where my 1 1/4 inch is, so that it's even all the way around. And then I pin it. I will press it as well, just to make it neater again. Okay, so all we're doing now is folding that over on those dot lines, and we're going to top stitch it down. Okay, so now that I've clipped it where I wanted, the most important part is where your eyelets are. So when you're top stitching, that's why it's a 1 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that's why you're folding it quite big, so that your needles don't catch on those eyelets. So my eyelet is there, and I've got plenty of room to stitch down without my needles hitting those eyelets, because you'll most definitely snap a needle. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll sew that one down. Okay, so now we have enclosed our hoodie, so we're going to add the drawstring at the very end. It's now time to attach our hood to our jumper. So we're going to cross it over left on top, so when you're wearing it, so the lower piece goes on top, and we're going to cross it from the markings of the pattern. You should have markings from your pattern piece here, so I'll show you here. So down at the bottom, a little triangle, you needed to have marked that onto your hood, and then we're just going to cross them over at that point. The other one's starting to fade away, and we'll just clip that together in place. So remembering left side over, so that bottom where the lower eyelet is on top. Okay, I'll just fold that over like so. Okay, now from there we're going to attach it to our hood. So we're going to find the center of our back seam, of our back piece, sorry. And we're going to find the center of our front. And we are now, I'm going to turn my jumper inside out, and now we're going to place our hoodie inside our jumper, right sides together, making sure that you've got your crossover part on the front piece of your jumper, and we're matching up the center marks, and just pin it in place. Then obviously the center of your hood is your seam where you've sewn. And attaching that on. Evenly. Okay, pin as much or as little as you like. I like to pin a little bit more, especially when there's multiple layers, just so that when I am sewing, I'm making sure that I'm catching all those layers together. the last thing you want is to only attach two layers instead of 3. Okay, so now that our hood is all attached, we're going to just trim off any excess of your shoulder zip as well. You don't want that going through your machine. I'll use my scissors. I might just move that clip a bit. So trim off any excess just so that it's in line. And remember, you have base stitched that down, so it's not going to come off. So just put that back together. Now we're going to overlock all that together. Again, if you don't have your overlocker, you will need to make sure that you use a stretch stitch. Otherwise, you'll pop seams and stitches when that goes over their head, especially if you're making it for a child. Children tend to be a little more rougher. So this is the final step for today. I think we've accomplished a fair bit doing that hood and putting on those sleeves and the pocket. So let's go and attach this hood. Okay, so now we've attached our hood. I just thread my overlocking threads back through so that it doesn't come back out. And snip it off, and we can turn it right side out. And we've got our hood on our jumper. Can't really see it very well. So what we're going to do tomorrow is day 4 we're up to. Day 4 is catch-up day. So just a day to catch up with anything that you may have missed in the last 3 days. And then day 5, we're going to finish off with the thumb hole cuffs and the bottom band and adding in our drawstring. So day 5 is a pretty cruisy day. So you've got that 1 day extra to catch up. I hope you guys are all happy with how it's all going. Don't forget to post a pic in the So Unique Fabrics Facebook group of what you've accomplished today for your chance to win some So Unique fabric goodness. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now.